Welcome to West Coast Gridiron, their home of high school football on the left side of the map, where Friday nights mean everything and the next generation of stars is built under the lights. This isn't just scores and stats, it's about identity, toughness, and the grind it takes to earn respect out here. I am your host, Coach Freeman, and whether you're coach, player, parent, or just a fan of the game, this is your front row seat to the future of football. Now, today, we are going to break down some schemes, philosophies, and coaching strategies shaping high school football today. If you've watched Iowa State, TCU, Arizona State, Baylor, Oregon, or even some NFL teams, you've probably seen some defenses lining up with three safeties deep before the snap. At first glance, it looks strange. Some coaches call it a stacked defense, others call it a tight front, some refer to it as a mint front. But the truth is, the three high safety structure is much more than just a front or coverage. It's an entire defensive philosophy designed to stop modern offenses. So today, we're going to discuss where it came from, why it was created, the structure of the defense, the run fits behind it, coverage concepts behind it, advantages, weaknesses, and how high school coaches can implement pieces of it. So let's get it started. Again, this is only going to be about a 30-minute. I'll dive deep a little bit more as we go on, but why the three high safety defense was created. And here's the thing with football. It's ever evolving and it's ever like revolving, in a weird way to say that. It's always a game of adaptation. Offenses innovate, defenses respond, then offenses counter. Over the last 20 years, offenses began spreading defenses horizontally and vertically like nothing we've ever seen with the RPOs and the pass screen options, the run screen options, all these different things that they're doing to maximize and make the defenses cover not only the vertical game, but sideline to sideline as well. With the rise of air raids, RPOs, tempo systems, spread option football, this created enormous stress on your traditional, 4-3, 3-4 defenses. The old answer was just cover three. Then it became cover four. Then it turned into split field coverages with rip, liz, match. But offenses, obviously, new innovators, new minds kept finding answers, and defensive coordinators were constantly forced into a numbers disadvantage. What was the biggest problem? Defenses couldn't stop the run while simultaneously defending 4 and 5 receiver threats. Something had to change, something had to adjust. Enter John Heacock, at Iowa State. His staff developed a system designed specifically to defend the Big 12 offenses. Instead of building the defense around stopping traditional formations, they built it around surviving modern spread football. That defense eventually became known as the three high safety structure, or a 3-3 stack, or a 3-5-3, or a 3-3-5. Again, it's more of a 3-3-5 than it is a 3-5-3. A 3-5-3 would be more having 5 linebackers versus 3 DB types. So your basic structure, most three high defenses are built from a 3-3-5 personnel package. You're typically going to have, as you see on the screen here, 2 defensive ends, or ends as you would call them, and then you're going to have a nose. Sorry, I don't know why these guys are red. My bad. But linebackers, you're going to have a Mike, Will, Sam, or Buck, or Jack, or whatever. In any case, you're going to have 3 linebackers. Now, this is where that stack part comes in. A lot of people refer to it as a stack. If you ever watch Iowa State, TCU, very, very rarely are they ever in a stack because they're going to adjust the formation. They're going to slide a backer out here and there and be more of a 3-2 box or have like an overhang or stuff like that. So they're never really, very, very rarely are they actually ever stacked. Safeties, you're going to have a boundary, field, and middle. So I ran this for a few years, and we had what we called our knight was our field side safety. We had our shield, which was our boundary side safety. And then we had our free, which was our free safety and things like that. And then corners, you're going to have a boundary corner and a field corner. The key piece is that extra safety, whether it's your field safety or whatever that is. That's going to be your key piece. Traditionally, defenses are going to have a 1 high or a 2 high. Now there's 3. So the middle safety becomes this safety right here becomes the movable chess piece in which defenses can now try to gain the +1 advantage or the leverage in the run game, however you want to try to scheme it, depending what you're trying to do. But he's going to become the chess piece for them. Before the snap, defense can be in anything from cover 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 without changing any personnel. They can run all those coverages with all that personnel. And that creates tremendous confusion for quarterbacks when they see 3 high safeties. Is it cover 2, cover 3? Is it going to end up being cover 4? Is one of those safeties going to drop? How are they going to rotate? So it creates tremendous confusion for your quarterbacks. Now, ultimately the front itself, the secret sauce, as you would, is not with the safeties. It's with your front. The secret sauce is the front, with most three high defenses use what's called a tight front, an alignment being a traditional a 4-eye, and a nose. If you've watched some of my videos before, I've never called this a 4-eye. I've been kind of odd with this. I've always called anything over the center a 0, inside the guard a 1, a 2, a 3, and then this would just be a 4. Head up the tackle would be a 5, outside the tackle a 6. I hated the idea of 4-eye, mainly because I had a stunting system where it was just easier for me to call one number at a time, and then I could adjust the front however I wanted. So again, now of course everyone uses 4-eye and 2-eye and most of that, but again, that was a different piece. And I know, again, you want to teach things to help them move on to the next level. So eventually I got rid of that. And again, we just ran the 4-eye. I will share that numbering system with everyone in case at the lower levels. Again, it's an easy way to teach kids in the beginning. And then as you move up to high school, you can change it to 4-eye to get them ready for college. But the defensive ends align inside the offensive tackles. This is going to create several advantages. First, it's going to eliminate interior gaps. The offense now is going to have difficulty creating vertical movement. Second, it forces the runs wider. Again, this is in theory if everything works perfect, obviously. Third, it protects the linebackers. Offensive linemen struggle to climb to the second level, especially at the high school level. But obviously, you can watch college and the pros. Even they have a hard time getting to those linebackers, especially backside linebackers. This allows the linebackers to stay clean and run freely. Against zone teams, this can be incredibly effective if you run it correctly. So, how do the run fits work? It's built around this concept: spill the ball outside. A lot of your help is going to be out here. So the tight front handles both A gaps and your B gaps. Linebackers are going to fit C and D for the most part. Okay. Now, again, I've always viewed this as my nose, my mic, and my free technically have to be my best 3 players on this defense. Because if my nose isn't very good, if he's a smaller guy, fine. We'll slant him to or away from the back, depending on what he is. If he's a bigger body and he can actually plug this nose, then my mic can play A to A and make him right. The ends control the B gaps, and then my Sam and Will control the C gaps and / D gaps, depending on if there's a tight end or not. And again, there's a whole nother thing we can get into on whether or not you should walk up on the tight end or not. I've done it both ways. I've done it where we've walked up a backer on the tight end. I've done it where we've left him naked. And the advantages to both, there's advantages and disadvantages to both. Then your safeties become the extra run defenders. So again, in theory, depending on what you're doing with your D-line and your safeties and what you're doing with your nose, is your nose going to be a 2-gap guy, or is he going to be a fitter to either side, however that may be? And then is your mic going to make him right on the other side? So however you design that, whatever personnel you have. But then essentially, again, these are generally where your run fits would cover and have everything covered as far as C to C, D to D. So that's essentially your idea. So imagine defending the inside zone. The nose occupies the center. The 2 4-eyes control both tackles. Now the linebackers can remain free. And again, that's if you leave them in this kind of stacked look. Now the offense has trouble creating double teams. The defense is going to win mathematically. So again, because if you're going to try and double team here, okay, now your center is 1-on-1. If you're going to try and double team, if you're running zone this way, he's stepping here. There's nothing for him to step to. So you're going to try and get a double team here. Your nose is slanting. Now he's got to take control, and then the center has to now catch up to him. So again, depending on what you slant and how you do this, if your center can be occupied by the nose, your mic gets to roam free. In any case, it keeps the backers free and it keeps the tackles having to step a different way than what they normally would do in a zone concept. Because again, if you're stepping right, well, now he's not stepping right because there's more to step 2. So he's got to step back for the double team, which is, again, going opposite direction of the zone play. So this is one of the reasons why Iowa State consistently frustrated explosive Big 12 offenses. And you watch them today. Their offense is very intricate and very interesting how they run with those 3 high safety defenses and how they move around. So again, your other safeties, these are going to help with your run fits as well, depending on how you want to teach them with outside contain and things of that nature. Corners, usually you're going to be last to the party. But in any case, the middle safety, he's the star of the show. Some coaches will call him a star, a rover, a spur, a money, whatever you want to call. But this player must be your best athlete, one of your best tacklers. He's part safety, part nickel, and basically he's your quarterback of your defense. Normally that's the mic, but in this type of front, it's going to have to be your free safety. His responsibility is going to include anything from run support, middle hole coverage, robber coverage, blitzing, and matching slot receivers. It allows tremendous flexibility. One snap, he may fit like a linebacker, depending on if you're slanting or depending on the formation. Maybe they're in a trips look and you got to move a backer out. So he's got to fit into that CD gap. The next, he drops into coverage. The next, he's blitzing off the edge. The offense rarely gets a clean pre snap picture of this free safety and where he's going to be because he's always got to be moving around, usually. So, again, if you were to imagine it for lack of a better, envision this. If you got a true trio or a trips look, three receiver set over here, and you're going to have your field side corner again, depending on how you're playing them. You could have him on the inside. You could have him apexed. So in that regard, if you want to keep these guys clean and keep them in like a 3-over-3 kind of scenario, now again, you're not going to be stacked. So you could rotate over and he could end up filling this C gap to spill everything out here, depending on what the run play is. He could end up spilling this way. If you're doing some kind of slant game, he could spill into the B gap. So, for example, again, if you're going to run something of a mindset, if you're going to slant, again, normally if you're in a 4-eye, you're not going to slant. But let's say you got smaller linemen, you're going to slant anyway. So then he's going to go there. Mike's going to cover this gap. Your Will's still going to end up with C, but maybe now you're free, who's going to slide over ever so slightly, is now going to fit into that B gap depending on the run play. Again, hypothetical, something that could happen, something you could do. Again, that's the point. That's the wonderfulness of that free safety is he can fit like a linebacker or cover like a nickel. That's the idea is that you can do different things. So now again, 4-eyes more often than not are going to be here. But again, depending on what you're doing with this nose, you have to cover C gap with your will backer on a run fit here. So your Mike, depending on if your nose is plugging, it's going to have to help A to A. So then your free safety could end up fitting with a C while these guys are playing coverage 3-over-3 on this side. Normally defenses want to have more of a 4-over-3 or an extra body. So again, you could almost fully rotate ever so slightly if you want you to get him back into some kind of help here if you trust your boundary corner. And something you could do, something you could play with as far as what you want to do and adjust that free safety to give yourself a +1 or some kind of advantage. Now, the coverage philosophy, one of the biggest misconceptions, and again, I fell into this trap too when I first saw it years ago, and I'm like, they're just going to run cover 3 of that? This seemed kind of like a waste. And some of the clinics I went to in the early beginnings, it was all just, yeah, we just run base cover 3. That's all we do. We just run cover 3 out of it, and that's it. So it's like, oh, well, okay, it's just a cover 3 defense. It's nothing special. But later on, that's not what it was ever meant to do. The shell can rotate into almost anything. So common coverages you're going to see is cover 3 match to help with RPOs. So your rip Liz match game, you're going to see some of that. Cover 4, which is going to help with your vertical, your 4-vert passing concepts. Cover 6 allows different strengths to each side. Again, cover 5, cover 6, quarter, half, however you want to delineate cloud coverage, sky coverage, however you want to delineate based on boundary and field. And do you want the safety coming down and the back and the corner coming up, or do you want the corner staying down and the safety going back to give you different looks on that? Tampa variations to protect the middle of the field. Because that's one of the things that I personally fell in love with is you could try to basically create a Tampa 2 version where you could bring one of these guys on a blitz, run cover 2, and then still have your free safety be that Mike backer that's going to play the middle hole in a Tampa 2 variation, which essentially almost makes it look like cover 3 because you have 3 safeties deep, basically getting your half, and your middle. You have your cover 3 taken care of because you have 3 deep guys, but then you have your flat coverage with your corners, allows you to blitz into a 4-2. So it allows you some different things like that. And now robber concepts as well, where you can run the free safety down while your knight or your shield or one of your other safeties is actually playing more down. Maybe he's playing the flat, corners playing back. So you're going to rob here and run a cover 1 kind of deal, something like that. So again, little things to tinker with and to which you can play with this free safety and with these extra safeties as well, where you can use them in different coverages. I've always felt you can run a bunch of different coverages out of it. Now, I essentially evolved as a D coordinator because of what we had. I got out of the tight front and we still ran like a 3 high safety look, but our knight became basically our nickel. And for example, our Sam would come up, knight would bounce out, and we would end up running like a 4-2-5 kind of look. No, he would have to bounce out and we'd play games with the nose. We either put him head up or head up the nose and play games with these two. But essentially, what we ended up doing is we ended up running a version of Nick Saban's cover seven. So basically, quarters man match. We ended up running a version of that out of this just because we had enough D linemen and not enough true inside backers. And we had a lot of DB types. So we ended up doing that. One year we ended up with 3 backers. The next year we end up with 2 backers. It all depends on personnel. But that's kind of the nice part about this in my head. If you blitz, if you like to send pressure, think of this then as a 4-2-5. Just where are you creating that fourth pressure? If he's going outside, then okay, you got your C gap, you got your A gap. So how are you going to cover that the A and B gap to the other side with a blitz or with a run fit? So you just got to make sure you get all your gaps covered when you blitz into a 4-2-5. I mean, similarly, out of your 3-4s, a lot of the time when you blitz in a 3-4, you're blitzing into a 4-3. Just again, it's one of those things where everything ends up in a different front and in a different coverage because of your blitz. So if you love the blitz, just think of it this way. If you're a 3-down guy, just think of it this way. Okay, I love to play 3-down, but I love to blitz all the time. All right, then try to scheme everything your run fits out of a 4-down. So then that way you understand, where am I sending the blitzer? Why am I sending the blitzer there? Does that cover all of our run fits? Do I have an extra gap? Am I giving up a gap? Am I stretching something? Because again, if you blitz somebody, any of these three, or the free safety, or the knight, or the shield, well, you're blitzing into a 4-2-5, or let's just say you blitz the knight. Now you're in a 4-3-2 shell technically. So again, who are you blitzing? Why are you blitzing them? What gaps are you taking care of? What backers do you have left for underneath coverage? And how many DBs do you have left for the back? So just always kind of remember that when you have your odd fronts and your even fronts and things like that, is like you're blitzing into creating a new front. What is that new front? And what do you have in the middle and then on the back end? So how does this defend RPOs? RPO change football. I remember watching Baylor where linemen are 5, 6, 7 yards downfield and nothing's getting called. And I didn't understand it. I'm like, wait, how is that guy 7 yards downfield and they're throwing the ball? I thought that was a penalty. Didn't make any lick of sense to me how they were pulling it off. And then all of a sudden I see high schools doing it, colleges doing it, NFL kind of does it. You have to be very, very keen on watching if NFL is doing it, because sometimes I covered this in a previous video. A lot of the times RPOs at the college and NFL level might look like play action, but they're really RPOs. And even similar to the high school level, I've really sat down with our quarterbacks these past few years and been like, here's the difference between play action. Here's the difference between RPO. RPO, we're reading somebody, we're putting somebody in conflict, versus play action. We've noticed the whole defense is shifting and aligning funky to this one formation or this one play. So if we run this play with a play action pass on the back end of it, we're going to have this hole open. We're not reading a defender, we're reading an area and space versus just one player. So again, play action RPOs, again, I went over that a few weeks back. Feel free to go take back and look at that one. But how it defends it, traditional defenses struggled because they had to commit an extra defender to stopping the run, which opened up your passing windows. That's your conflict player. Who's the guy you're trying to put in conflict? So the third safety changes that equation, though. So now the defense can fit the run, defend the quick game, and protect vertical routes, because now if you're trying to read a certain safety, he can come down and drop down out of space, which you were not expecting. So at that same time, the offense loses easy answers, quarterbacks begin holding the football longer, and defense coordinators start winning the chess match. So again, if you're trying to run just a simple zone RPO here, depending on your coverage, okay, we're all running zone this way. They're all stepping hard. He's reading. Ooh, that's not my bad. That is not a good zone block. But anyway, so they're all stepping to their inside block, making their counts, making their numbers, all stepping, all that good noise. And then he's reading to bang, bend, or bounce at the same time. He's reading either this backer or this safety. Well, in any case, again, he can read this backer and this safety can be up, down, and he can flow, come out the roof, whatever coverage you want to do, either have the corner and him drop. In any case, they have a 2/2. Technically, if he bounces out of 3/2, plus now you still have 7 in the box, because the free safety is going to come down and fit somewhere based on your run fit scheme. So again, if he's up inside, let's just say he slants away from the back here. Let's say your nose is slanted away from the back to that side and you're still in your tight front. Now, again, you have this filled here. You have this filled to this side. You have your mic fitting, and then you have your free safety fitting as well to now give you 7 in the box based on what he sees. And now you still have 4/4 in any kind of zone or whatnot. Again, this isn't a blitz. This is based on run fitting. So this is basically got a true run read here. So these guys are all hitting on their run read. It's not a blitz. They're coming from depth. And the same thing. So if he wants to throw that RPO, he's coming from so deep, depending on his alignment, he can now make an adjustment. If the quarterback were to pull and throw it, you still end up with a +1 because if he threw it, now he could take off. If he doesn't throw it and hands it off, now he's here. Well, we had a few years back when we were at CASA, many years ago, we had a really good zone read veer team, and they had it to where instead of the traditional defensive end linebacker splitting the quarterback dive pitch, they basically put their free safety in charge of the quarterback. So in this example, let's just say the quarterback pulls it because he gets this read here. Well, now the free safety is coming down to also help the will on the pull. So now you end up with 1, 2, 3, 4 over 3 on the RPO. You have a +1 advantage because now the free safety is taking care of the quarterback in the RPO scheme. So you have 5 guys or 6 guys on the dive, and you end up with 3-on-3 with the pitch, or really 4-on-3, because if he takes this as a pitch read or as a pull read and then the will's the pitch read, okay, fine. He's got quarterback. Now we got 3/2 as he continues on his track. So the defense ends up with a +1 advantage in that regard. So again, that was kind of the idea is they were figured out a way to pull somebody back out of the box to create them a +1 advantage on the defensive side. Now, of course, like every defense, it's all got holes and whatnot. We'll go over that. The advantage of this system is the strength is it's disguising. Offensive struggles, identifying the coverages, identifying the movement. It's versatile. It can cover inside to out. Again, if you want to bring everybody down inside into a double tight look, again, depending on what your personnel is, I've seen it where it basically turns into almost like a 5-2 or a 5-3 where you walk the outside safeties down. You could walk in your free safety and keep them back, turn it into a almost legitimate 5-2. Again, as they condense, you condense. As they widen, you can widen. Same thing. You want to go some kind of look of empty kind of thing. Same thing. They can widen out with you. Free safety can come over the top. You still have 5 in the box or 6 in the box because you got 4/3. And again, you could still have the intent of if you're trying to run a quarterback draw, that's fine. These gaps are taken. You have all the 4 main gaps, the A's and the B's covered. Because if you have Mike cover here, again, just saying we'll slant the nose this way. If the Mike ends up with this gap, all those gaps are covered. So now he's got to bounce out. If he wants to bounce out this way, the Will and the Sam are there. If he wants to bounce out over here, now you got the free safety and your shield or whatever other safety on that side or Sam. So you have enough to cover it on either side, depending on what they want to do. So they want to widen, you can widen. They want to condense, you can condense. So that's kind of the fun part about that. It's a better RPO defense. It gives additional support to your players, strong against spread offenses, especially spacing. As you can see, the more you want to get out in space, they have the ability to adjust and move. Again, rarely is it a true stack. You see more true stack in high school than you do at the college or NFL. They're always adjusted over to here and there. Personnel flexibility. It can adapt to different formations quickly, and it forces patience. Explosive offenses often have to become methodical because, again, without being able to really see the coverage, they have to make adjustments and wait and see what the rotation is. And then they almost have to counterpunch versus attack. So they have to take that adjustment. Now, no defense is perfect. This 3-high structure has weaknesses too. Weakness 1, heavy personnel can stress the lighter boxes, obviously. So if you have a way to have bigger linemen, have a sniffer fullback type that's a big body that can go through and you can bang some heads here, or you can run a true double tight formation with bigger bodies and really try to attack them and make them come up. Obviously, that's going to stress them, stress that type of defense. Physical offensive lines, but I feel like any physical offensive line can beat any front. Again, it's one of those things, just kind of looking at it, doing research and thinking about what works against the 3-man stack. Again, it's a generic term, but at the same time, when you kind of look at what people talk about who run the 3-3 stack or the 3-3-5, a lot of the times their defensive line is smaller. So bigger, more physical offensive lines tend to dominate those a little bit better. It requires smart safeties. You can't have dummies back here, especially at that free safety spot. If you got a kid that is just not smart, like you need a 4.0 kid in high school and in college that's going to run this for you. Otherwise, you're going to struggle. And then practice time. It's multiple disguises. It takes reps. Many high schools struggle because they just don't have the practice time for this. So you got to keep it simple and move it up. How can a high school use this? Here's the trick. You don't need to install the entire system. Many successful high school defenses borrow pieces of it. Consider this: option one, use a tight front and keep your existing coverages. So you can use the 3 high front or the 3 front here, the 4 high front. If you run a 3-4, that's fine. You can at least attempt to run and use the tight front to some degree. Again, if you like to have your backers off, then at least that way that gets you a start. So you can use the tight front. It'll allow your backers to stay clean because those B gaps will be taken. You can have one backer cover the other A. You have your Sam backer and your other safety, weak side safety. Like, let's just call him the weak side safety here for you, for lack of a better word here. Then at least that way that gives you that ability to get pieces of it. Option two, you could add a third safety. So let's just say you run a 4-3. You don't think you have the ability to run a 3-3 stack, or maybe you have a buttload of D linemen. Okay, that's fine. So then run more of a 4-2-5 look. So now you got the 4-2 look. You can have the weak side safety here. You can have that night safety. Almost looks like kind of a 4-4 to some degree. Again, play games with the alignment and adjust from there. So you can play it like a 4-2-5 if you have plenty of D linemen, not a lot of linebackers, which again is what we turned into. And then you can do it that way. Option three, create simulated pressure packages where you line them up in double mug or a mug and then play some games there. So in that way that helps. Option four, use your middle safety as a robber player. So again, walk this safety down, use them as a way to rob any kind of inside routes based on what they're trying to do. If they love to run slants, if they run to run ins or posts or anything like that, where they're trying to attack the middle of the field, use them as a robber on either side. And then option five, build disguises into your current structure. So we did a thing many, many, many years ago. I know we ran what we called just 42. And everyone, oh, 42. Yeah, we know what that is. So, I mean, we just lined up in four, made it look like cover four, and then rolled into cover two. Or we did 24 where we looked we're in two, rolled into cover four. What I liked as a defensive coordinator as I got a little bit older, I like just to have my corners look the same. So if I could, every year in the summer, we just had them press inside shade, and we said we are going to press all summer and all spring, and we're going to figure out if we can do it. If we can do it, great. If we can't, then we'll play off coverage and we'll go from there, and we'll play them at 5 yards every time, and we'll just disguise whether it's three or whatnot, and we'll bail late. So we would try to wait as long as we could to bail if we didn't have a corner that could press, but we tried to just press the piss out of them no matter what we were doing. So that was our ultimate goal, was we were just going to press, press, press. And if we could, we would. If we couldn't, then we started our corners at 5 yards. Okay, you know what? We are not a pressing team. But we had them start 5 yards, head up to inside shade every single time. So teams thought we were at least playing some kind of version of off man or off cover two. And then we could bail into a cover three as we timed the snap and we timed the cadence and be like, hey, listen for the cadence, those first couple plays. As you catch on to it, get to 8 by the time the snap happens. So then that way they don't know if it's cover three. And then we could spin the safeties to get into cover three and so on and so forth, or run a version of cover 5, cover 6, whatever we wanted to do to get that quarter, half, or that third and a third, however we wanted to play that. So we would take different things and tweak it. But that was my way of disguising, is trying to make just everything look the same. And obviously, again, depending on what you want to do with your safeties, I've played it where we had all the safeties at 10 yards. I've played it where we had the 2 inside safeties at 8 yards, and we had our main safety at 10, no deeper than 12. So again, we kind of staggered them at different levels, just kind of give different things. So ultimately, the future of the defense, will this defense take over football in general? It hasn't yet. I haven't seen, to be honest, since I started again as an OC, and this is going into my 3rd year as an OCO line coach, I haven't seen a true 3 high defense yet at this area and the level I'm at now. I've seen mainly some split field, and I've seen that's pretty much it. But mainly it's 2 high, 1 high, mix in with some split field coverages, and that's it. So I think it depends on your region. It depends on what level you're at. Are you high school, college, NFL? I don't think high school it's not going to take over. It's just going to depend on the area. If you see a lot of spread teams, I think you'll see more of it. Again, we try to run it because we saw a lot of spread teams. So that's why the whole point, that was the whole reason we thought, hey, it was a necessary evil for us. Like we were like, hey, we have the personnel for it. We adjusted the front 6 or 7. We tried to find the smartest kid to play free, the most athletic kid to play free, and then we adjusted the front 7 based on that. So again, it probably won't overtake completely. Again, I haven't seen one in my 3 years so far here. Well, 2 years going on 3 here. I think I saw maybe 4. I'm trying to think offhand, maybe 3, maybe 4 teams run it in the Sacramento area in the like in the 15 years I was there. So I think I saw maybe 3 or 4 teams maybe run it. And again, sometimes you try to wonder if that's really what they're doing or if that's a misalignment. So that's always the other fun part too. When you're watching film, you're like, well, wait, they lined up this way one time and they never lined up in it again, or they lined up in this 3 times, but then they never lined up. So you start to wonder, is it actually their scheme, or is it more of just a oops, they screwed up and they weren't supposed to line up there kind of thing? So that's always a fun one to try to figure out as well. So probably not completely. Football always cycles. I mean, we've seen the single wing come back. We've seen wing T. We've seen spread. We've seen veer. We've seen wishbone. We've seen, I mean, you name it. There's everything. Again, football is cycles, and someone's going to go back and look at the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, and they're going to find something that nobody runs anymore. And they're going to bring it back and modernize it, just like the Miami Dolphins did with the single wing back then. Just like how Andy Reid goes back and he finds something, just like how Bill Belichick used to go back and find something and bring it in, just like Nick Saban used to go in the college game and go find something and bring it back. They all go find these little things, and now you got the Sean McVays of the world that institute certain buck sweep wing tee things into their system, and he's still got some spread stuff in there. So again, they take little bits and pieces of these rules and these schemes and institute them to modernize their offense, and it gives the defense fits, because basically if you're a defense in one avenue, you got to look at it, especially the college and NFL. High school, a wing T team is going to run wing T. A spread team is going to run version of spread. You're not going to see a team, very rarely at the high school level, run a little bit of everything like that, because you don't have the personnel for it and you don't have the time to have all that stuff in. So that's going to be your other problem too. So offenses will adjust. We're already going to see gap schemes, counter, power, tight ends, and multiple formations designed specifically to attack these lighter boxes. The future is, again, it's going to be hybrid football. Sometimes you're going to see some of that based on what they're getting. Sometimes you're not. Defenses that can shift between odd fronts, even fronts, 2 high, 3 high, those ones are going to have your greater success. So is that going to be at the high school ranks? No, that's going to be at the NCAA, and that's going to be at the NFL level, where they're able to do all that because they're going to have the personnel and the numbers. High school, sometimes you walk in, you got less than or right at 30 varsity players. So you're going to run 1 or 2 coverages, you're going to run 1 or 2 fronts, and you might mix in some blitzes here and there, but that's about it. You're going to have some kind of man and maybe 2 kinds of zone. At least that's what you're going to have on the defensive side as a high school coach. That's going to be like your bare minimum, what you're going to have. Again, some people go crazy. They have all these blitzes, all these coverages. Again, it depends on what your system is. We had a bunch of DBs. We try to do a bunch of different coverages. We have a bunch of linemen and linebackers. Change up the front, change up the blitzes. Again, you adjust to your personnel. So those ones will have the great success. The best defensive coordinators aren't going to necessarily marry a scheme, but they're going to marry a philosophy and adapt it. So that's where I think the 3 high, I hear more about it here and there. Coach Mack out in Florida, I've seen some of his YouTube stuff and I've heard about him. He runs, or he's talked about at least running a 3 high tight front defense. So again, it's not a gimmick. There are people that completely sell into it and they run it effectively. I think the problem with it is it needs a specific type of personnel, and I could be wrong. But I do feel like it does need a specific type of personnel. It needs a lot of time to disguise and respond, and a lot of different run fits because you got a lot of space. But again, if you have the time and you're able to coach it, I think it could be very beneficial, especially if you're in a league that has a lot of spread teams. So, final thoughts on this. The 3 high safety defense, it's not a gimmick. It's a response. It's a response to the spread offense, to the RPOs, to tempo football, and the space game dominating modern football. Not only having to go vertical, but having to go horizontal. At its core, it seeks to solve one problem. How do you defend each of the field without sacrificing numbers in the run game and in the pass game? And the answer has been, so far, a third safety. Whether you're a varsity coordinator, JV coach, or youth football coach, studying these concepts can help you better understand where football is heading. Even if you run a true three high system, you're likely going to face one soon. If you never run a true high, if you've never run a true three high system, you're likely going to see one again. I saw one, I ran one, and understanding it may be the difference between moving the chains and punting the football. So again, you got to kind of take a look at how you want to run defense. That's a wrap on another episode of West Coast Gridiron. If you're loving the show, make sure to subscribe, share it, your football circle, and keep supporting these young athletes chasing greatness every single Friday night. We'll be back next time with more stories, more breakdowns, and more of the best high school football you're going to find anywhere. Until then, stay disciplined, stay hungry, and keep your eyes on the gridiron. I've been your host, Coach Freeman.